Hey guys, welcome back to Backseat Consumers. I'm your host Chris.
And I'm your host, Gabe.
So as you can see, we have Max Snorlax here. We have Shaman, nickname to be mentioned. We have Raichu and Pikachu, and all these Pokemon and stuff. What do you think our topic is today? Take a guess in the comments.
Digimon.
Pokemon fan games.
I was gonna say Digimon.
So funny, girl.
Oh, clearly. Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about Pokemon fan games.
It's a very wide topic.
Yes, it is.
So,
So let's get right into it.
yeah. So basically, it's a pretty wide range. So we're gonna start off with something I think very simple here, because when you talk about anything, the first thing would be, what is it? So
Yeah.
in terms of it, we got what fan games, which I think evolved from ROM hacks. So for those of you that don't know what fan games or ROM hacks are, we're gonna say with Pokemon here, for example, ROM hacks are basically edited versions of the original game. So like there's example Emerald Kaizo is
Yeah.
one, Radical Red. There's so many countless ones because those have been around for a while, and they kind of just evolved like a Pokemon would into what they are today. So
Who's that Pokemon?
it's uranium.
It's uranium. The nuclear grade ones.
Yeah, but I think they're great.
I like the thing about like Pokemon fan games is they were like really started blowing up after like 2013, which was in 2014, which was like the X and Y release date,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because of the reason why people play them.
Yeah,
And that is for a lot of like difficulty reasons. Like X and Y, you could beat the game probably with just your starter. Greninja was OP in that game. He could handle like half the gyms himself, and the ones he could struggle with, he has moves that could help him deal with them.
mm-hmm. I think it's like either if it's Pokemon Company, Game Freak, Nintendo, any of them that has a target audience that they want to focus on, which is a younger generation. And a lot of the people that make these fan games, they could be younger generation, but they're probably also older generation that just don't vibe, I guess, with the newer games.
Yeah, like there's
because of
obviously like
difficulty.
bugs, there's a lot of stuff like
Yeah.
issues with them, and it almost feels like the games are kind of hand holding you through the entire experience. Like they leave pins where you have to go, and there's always someone basically like pointing you in the direction. And it's a little, it kind of gets rid of the fun.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's necessary to have at least a little guidance because sometimes you just haven't played in a bit or whatever, so you need that. But when they leave a pin or they almost leave a trail basically telling you where to go, it's not really a journey, it's more like just a passage, like you're just walking down a long hallway.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there are so many reasons why fan games have difficulty, definitely being like one of the biggest ones that you probably hear if you're in the Pokemon community. You're gonna you hear a lot. If you don't, you're gonna hear it a lot. If you're joining in on it, and the other things like we were just saying, like the bugs. So Scarlet, prime example
Oh
of a
god.
game like.
Yeah.
I actually don't own the physical copy. I was like, physical copy? Wait, no, I don't own that one physical. But it has a lot of those issues, and you've probably seen videos online if you
Yeah.
haven't played them. And I think it makes sense why the community wants to take a stand on that. I would assume people still remember their experiences when they first got it on like their Game Boy
Yeah.
Color. I remember a few.
Yeah,
of them.
one of the first Pokemon games I like fully played through and completed. I think actually the first one I fully played through and completed
Mhm.
because I never beat Sinnoh was X and Y. Not X
Yeah.
and Y. No. Black and White and Black and White 2. They were like some of my favorite, and it's still my favorite Pokemon games.
Yeah, I think the first one I truly beat was Fire Red and like Emerald, that kind of era.
Yeah,
you know?
Emerald was one of your favorites. For a
Yeah.
while.
But besides difficulty and bugs, there's also like a want for other things. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but sometimes when I play those games like Pokemon, like regular games, I feel like I want more out of it. So extra features, like I've played countless RPGs over the years. You have too.
Yeah.
And you've noticed how all these other features you wish could be in a game like
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah, like jobs and like yes, jobs. But no, like getting like your like some of them, there's like features like fusion and stuff like that that like really like draw players in because it feels different rather than traditional Pokemon where it's pretty much you get what you get and that's it.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same in each game, maybe one or two different moves it might learn in one game and not in another, which is almost arbitrary. But it's always like same Pokemon always wins.
Yeah.
Like if like in every game that has a Gibble, I'm always going to get Garchomp. He's
Yeah.
always going to be part of my team because he's one of the best Pokemon ever.
One of the best, yeah.
I always have the starter. I eventually add the legendary to my team. If there's Aegislash, I add him because he's my favorite Ghost Steel Pokemon.
There's a lot of Pokemon that just take the tiers, like, you know,
Yeah.
seriously every time. They're always there. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. Balancing.
Yeah.
There have been, like, there are some places you can go to and see, like, you know, they'll explain. They'll be like, oh, yeah, we balanced a few things, made
Yeah.
some more Pokemon more, you know,
Like,
useful.
Yeah,
You know?
like
Be able to
the
do
fan
things.
games, like the fan games make you try out new Pokemon and stuff that you never would have think of. Like Pokemon, I never even touched, even in one of in my favorite game, Black and White. Sock and never used him. I thought he was garbage. I didn't like his moveset.
Mhm.
But in Pokemon Reborn, which I'll go over a little bit later, he saved me out of the most difficult fight in the game.
That's
Just
the
with
best feeling
counter.
ever.
And I was like, you know what? I literally made a box for him that is labeled Hall of Fame, and he's the only one in it. The
Yeah.
only one. Him and one other Pokemon, actually. One other Pokemon
And I
who,
think that's
by pure luck, saved me in another difficult fight.
That's like one of the best things about, like, when you have a connection to something like that, you know, like a Pokemon in the game, because that's what they're supposed to
I
do,
literally
technically.
nicknamed him Champion, and that's his one thing.
Yeah.
That's his
Champion.
one thing. One fight. He fought a level 75 Garchomp at level 45 and cooked him.
He's
Cook
a
the Garchomp.
champion. You're gonna fight him in the league now. He's gonna take you out.
He's at the end, just sitting there like...
just standing there. Yeah, he's the only. He doesn't even have. No. He actually has Pokeballs. He's throwing other Pokemon out too.
Throws out like all legendaries.
Yeah. Yep. Mewtwo up first.
Oh god. And then Arceus right behind him.
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah. We're
5
gonna
more
go from
Arceus.
a man-made project to God.
to
God
Pokemon
himself.
God.
But there's also what, Fakemon. So-
Fakemon, which a lot of people do like. I personally like it, but I also don't. Like with Fakemon, it's cool, but it's also like it's the thing about Fakemon is it's almost like they have a preference, obviously developers when they make them, so they usually make Fakemon stronger than normal Pokemon.
Mhm.
So you're kind of almost forced to use them.
Yeah.
And
Makes
then
more
like
sense.
also with Fakemon, you have to like learn the typings, and there's no like guide where you could just pull it up like Bulbapedia or something, which has literally everything you can know about a Pokemon.
Yeah, you usually gotta get some games provide you with like an Excel sheet. And you gotta go to
Yeah.
that and look all the
Because you want to
information
learn their
up on there.
growths and typings, all that.
Which, you know, it's pretty cool. And then, you know, also MMORPGs they add, like there's so many Pokemon MMOs out there, and each of them are just for the
Yeah.
multiplayer experience, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah. And then next is like how these games are made, I think.
yeah. Well, so the thing with how the games are actually made is that, you know, I've actually looked. I'm gonna make sure you don't fall. I've actually looked into how to make Pokemon fan games and RPG like ROM hacks and stuff a while back, because, you know, I was interested in game development for a while. It's just something I've always loved, and obviously I love monster catchers, so one of the easiest ones to get into and learn some mechanics with is Pokemon. So you learn like RPG Maker. I'm sure people here have probably heard of that before. That's what they use, and there's like a little packet that comes with kind of like an extension, and it's like it's Pokemon Essentials. Comes with all the assets, so people can use that or edit them. You know,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty cool. And you know, people make their own pixel art for it,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
They make like their own sprites for Fakemon, or they add on to current Pokemon. Like
Mhm.
Eevee has all its different forms for different typings. Some people, and they design it differently to other people,
Mhm.
they make the rest of the typings. Like there's a Dragon Eevee, there's Ghost, Steel, like whatever. They
Mhm.
come up with their own typings, and the designs are really cool.
Yeah.
So technically Fakemon, but they're
Well,
actual Pokemon.
the
And they
interesting
balance
thing
them
is,
too.
even with like examples like you were saying, Reborn and other ones, they also do like NPCs. Like they make
Yes.
their own NPC sprites. You'll see sometimes like you know, thinking about it from a perspective, if you're making a game for free, like there's gonna be limitations on what you can do. Though you'll see recycled sprites and stuff, but like they still use, you know, very unique characters because they want to express that usually. If it's a very well-known one, you know, you see that a lot, which is cool.
And speaking of limitations, one thing is if you have a Mac, it's very hard to get a lot of these fan games. You have to like download like 4 different programs. So
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but I'm still able to get 3 fan games out of like hundreds.
Yeah.
I was
sure
able
we
to
can find more too over time.
Because right now I have Pokemon Reborn, which I played a lot of. I beat that once, and it was so accomplishing feeling.
Yeah.
Pokemon Desolation, which I'm actually starting to like a lot, and Pokemon Rejuvenation, which I haven't started because I wanted to get a little more further in Desolation.
Yeah. Which is interesting because all these games, like where I usually go to get them, you go to like Poke Community, and it's just a forum, and they got like all these people talking about different things, and then there's a showcase for ROM hacks and for fan games, and you go there, you get access to literally all of them, and they're constantly updating it in this thread. Sometimes they'll take you to their own personal site where they have the game there, or they'll take you to like, you know, just a Mediafire page. Just
and then you download it, and that's it. And then they'll usually have a guide in the section.
Yeah.
Because people obviously are not going to all be tech savvy and know what to do, how to do it.
Yeah, no, the website is honestly the best because you can see how much effort this community has. It's astonishing to me how big this community is.
And it obviously makes sense because Pokemon games, they're not making a new one every month. And you could probably beat a Pokemon game at 100% in less than a week.
Yeah.
You know? So then what are you going to do for the rest of the 51 weeks? And then there's sometimes now, which Nintendo's doing, which I have an opinion on that, is adding DLC.
Yeah.
Paid DLC to the game.
Yeah.
So
it's
basically,
a good way to save time for them.
It's a good way to save time, but the problem is, as a fan, it's an extra year without it. So that's why fan games come in, because then those take a lot longer to complete. Like Pokemon Reborn, if you were to fully play through it and do 100% it, you could probably sit there for 120 hours.
That's usually why people wish they took more time in their games and made something that could actually hold off for such a long time, you know?
Yeah.
Like have, again, extra features besides just making sure you catch them all and defeat all the trainers. And, you know, don't remove that and then replace them. I think it's better to just, you know.
Yeah.
Like with the fan games that you see out there, they have a lot, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like some of them. Yeah, like I forgot the name of the one I'm thinking of, but one of them replaced gym battles with like a different type of progression system, similar to how Sun and Moon did it, where it was like the challenges you did, where it still ended up in a fight, but it was different.
Yeah,
which I liked.
Yeah,
like some of it's battling, and I forgot the name of this game, but in this fan game, some of it's battling, some of it is like, oh, solve this puzzle, which is another thing I feel like Pokemon kind of shied away for, which is puzzles.
Yeah,
because they're going more towards a younger audience, which I get. It's the future of your franchise. It's getting more and more young kids interested and involved in it, but they almost dumbed it down too much where they could lose adult fans. Yeah, which is why
again trying to gauge that where the center point this should be.
Because like I keep bringing it up. Remember, I'm only able to play 3 fan games. But Pokemon Reborn has a lot of puzzles. And some of them are tied behind getting like specific Pokemon, like event Pokemon or whatever, that you could just get in the game. You don't have to like pay TLC to get this Pokemon. Yeah. Or you don't have to like go through 50 different hoops. It's like, oh, solve this puzzle. Like the Mirage Tower. You just have to get through the desert, find the different oases, enter the Mirage Tower, and then...
But we should go into like types of fan games. There's actually so many. Like speaking of all the games that we're talking about and how much detail we go into these, like you know, you have them based off of, and this is a common theme in regular games, like locations, you know, New York and stuff like that, places that they're based off of. Japan, there's plenty of them there, but for a lot of the fan games, they base them off places that haven't been you know, targeted by, you know, Game Freak or Pokemon Company yet. So like I've seen India. You were telling me
there's an Italy one, Xenoverse, which is a really good one, and I like the art style in that one.
Which I think is a very cultural, like, cool aspect to see.
Like Pokemon games are global. which is
Yeah.
really good. Like most people, when they think Pokemon, they either think the U.S. or Japan,
Yeah.
one of the two. But no, there's followings in France, Italy,
Yeah.
Africa,
Everywhere.
India, literally everywhere. Because it's a very it's a community based thing.
Yeah.
You know, like like, and the best thing Game Freak does is is when they moved away from just having it in Japan.
Yeah.
Like I think the first four regions were all Japan.
Yeah.
Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, and
Hoenn.
All
Yeah.
of them take place in Japan. The first one that didn't was Black and White, which took place in the U.S. Supposed to be from New York to California.
Yeah, it's like the whole range, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is interesting because, you know, like, if you think about it, like, the world of Pokemon in general is just really big. So it's going to have all different types of cultures and stuff also. Yeah. So it's kind of like, why haven't they tackled those yet? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, they're slowly getting to it. Because
Yeah.
after Black and White, they did France, Kalos region.
Yeah.
They did England, and they just did Spain with Scarlet and Violet.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to do Italy because Italy and Spain, culturally, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Especially also with France. The three of them are very similar. Not identical, but similar-ish.
Well, but, you know.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they go to maybe somewhere in Scandinavia or if they go to, like, India or something like that, you know?
Well, the interesting thing is that with fan games, like, they tackle, like, real places, like, as inspiration. But I know I've seen, like, brand new regions, just, like, brand spanking new regions. Like, they just somehow find a way to, you know, come up with ideas, slap it onto the game, and there you go. You got, like, this thing that you never would have thought of. You know, it's pretty cool. And you know, that's also, like, with fan games, the focus is, you know, besides location, you got story, which is a major topic usually within them, you know, because a lot of them are writers, I think, too. So.
And we talked about this in when we did our first top 5, our first episode. We talked about how, like, Digimon has, like, a darker story tone to it, which is one of the reasons we like it. But, like, Pokemon fan games, there are some of them that deal with, like, death and stuff like that, like topics that, like, in normal Pokemon games, it's almost like forbidden. Not there. It's like forbidden.
Yeah.
It's like you can never talk about this. It's almost like you're a 5-year-old on this adventure. 10-year-old, my bad. 10-year-old heading on this adventure and the world's
bright green and perfect.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're betting on Pokemon, little living creatures fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very interesting to me how, like, they just don't want to ever go down that route.
It's brand image too.
Yeah. But fan games, I mean, they could do whatever they want on those fan games. You know, you could see very edgy stories, very cringy ones, and there's very serious ones. There's more goofy ones. It's like all over the place. Like I've seen ones with zombies in them, which was very weird to me. There's so many.
There's like an MMO one. We have this written down, but there's one where you're able to start your adventure and just, like, if you have friends that are playing it, you could just walk around, you meet them.
Yeah.
Walking around, exploring the same world, catching Pokemon and stuff.
It's like what we wish, like, Scarlet and Violet and Shield were. Yeah, like
but
that.
Instead, it was just in the grass area. They were your friends. Which, you know, it was cool, but also kind of scary.
Yeah, Sword and Shield was like that. Scarlet and Violet, you just have to invite them into your lobby. You can get up to 4 people in your world.
Yeah,
I did 3.
Yeah,
4.
But I wish like you could have, like, the total of 4, and, like, they're involved in cutscenes too. You could battle them almost like if they were rivals.
Yeah.
Themselves, instead of just them being there and existing.
Yeah.
But hey.
Yeah, I think
there's limitations.
Yeah. No, but yeah, you know, you got, like, what sometimes they add. I'll say adult content because that includes violence and you know, things. There's also, like, the art style, like with Fakemon, or seeing a region, like, kind of fleshed out. You know, if there's cultural influences or stuff, sometimes they want to make the places, the villages, not just regular assets, it's their own. So you kind of want to see that as a player. I feel something unique, you know, going into a game. It's like, why not give me my Pokemon in a different place than what I'm used to? So I always thought that was pretty cool. And what is it, mechanics? You know, some are just focused on making the best professional team you possibly can out of something you wouldn't expect.
like they're meant to teach players like how the game would work like professionally.
Yeah.
Like Reborn, I keep bringing it up, but like you need to learn IVs. You need to learn what
Yeah.
EVs are. You need to min-max your Pokemon because the trainers, they will do that. The opponents, they will have Pokemon that are meant to be maxed out and almost broken if you're just trying to do the basic normal Pokemon where you catch the first version of that Pokemon, slap it on your team.
Yeah.
May have a terrible nature, terrible IVs. Good luck.
Yeah.
If you try doing that in this game, good luck. You're gonna struggle.
Yeah, I'm Reborn, yeah. But that's why
so I know the struggle.
That's why it's like, to me, I feel like almost every Pokemon except the select few have a use for it, but then you have to figure like how they work in your team. That's why with games like, I think it was Pokemon Island was the one I was playing. You basically just get the Pokemon and make the team battle a bunch of trainers until you feel like you've made a team that you're comfortable with, or you can have multiple teams you're comfortable with. So, I think that's a pretty cool mechanic. It kind of it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So
as I already said, we're going to talk about Reborn a lot. So let's talk about the fan games we really do like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start off with Pokemon Reborn because I do like it. As much as it merely made me pull my hair out and getting frustrated with puzzles, like Victory Road, I had to watch a tutorial on it because I was like stuck for like an hour and had no idea what to do. And there was a guy that had a 50-minute speed run video on Victory Road, and I was just like, no spoilers. I need no spoiler for the cutscenes that are going on. And I remember going through Victory Road taking me like a day and a half to get through it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild. That's very RPG.
It also didn't help that I had no repels, and I didn't want to backtrack through all the puzzles, leave, go buy some, then to come back. So
that usually takes a lot of the time, right? The random encounters.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I liked Reborn a lot. I thought it was really cool to have 16 gym leaders? 18.
Each type has a gym leader.
Yeah. 8. That's like,
that's huge.
It's unheard of in Pokemon games.
But it's really, it works because then it already adds to more difficulty, because in a normal game with 8 gyms, you could cover all type advantages that, and then basically 12 with the Elite Four. Mm-hmm. You could cover each of those types with one team.
Yeah.
If you give it the right move set, the right values or whatever, you can just cover it with
could just get through the entire
game
thing
pretty
up
much.
Until like Elite Four, maybe sometimes.
Even Elite Four.
Depends on the game.
But yeah, it depends on the typing of that.
The specific game.
But this one, no, they cover all that. And the Elite Four themselves have double typings.
So a lot of it is very mechanical and like
you need to learn moves and get perfect movesets.
Honestly, it reminds me of games like SMT, like in terms of difficulty. Yeah. Like making sure you have the right units to make sure you could take out these guys. So like if you kind of go in blinded, it's very tough. They do have passwords though to make it easier. If it's too much, they do have some you could do.
Like
it's like,
other reasons I loved Reborn is it made me use Pokemon and moves that I never thought about using.
Yeah.
Literally moves like bulk up, sing, sleep powder, all that. Just even in most basic fights, you need to use them. Just a random trainer in a route might just challenge your team because he perfectly counters you.
Well, you know what they say with like Pokemon games, if you're like one of those people that gets like all the offensive moves, that's pretty cool. But if you're one of those people that uses like the stat debuffs, the stat buffs, like status effects,
you're almost like the nerd in Pokemon.
Yeah, you're very strategic and a very scary human being also at the same time, because you know what you're doing.
True, but I feel like in normal Pokemon games, you could fly through the entire thing just using attack moves.
That's another thing, yeah.
I could use only one move the whole game. I could just use Tackle and probably beat the entire game. Unless it's a Ghost Gym. Then I would just use Foresight and then Tackle and I'll win the whole game.
Yeah, the Order Sleuth is it. I think is the other one, right? Is it Order Sleuth?
No, Foresight. No, what is it? I forgot what it is. I think it's Foresight that allows fighting and normal moves to hit Ghost types.
And there's also an ability that does that for some Pokemon. But in general, that just like... that difficulty that comes with it is like we were talking about what the fan games usually. That one is a good example of difficulty and more content, extra features, definitely there.
And it's rewarding because when you finally earn that champion title, it's like you went through hell to get it, both internally and in the game. Your character went through all of this and accomplished it. He went through seeing people dying. He sees someone commit suicide in the game. Like, he goes through hell.
It's a very serious tone.
Yeah, it's a very serious game. But
It's
he
very
goes through all
interesting.
that, and he becomes this hero and champion. It's not like he earned it.
Yeah.
He didn't like normal games where you just beat 8 gym leaders, walk through the Elite Four, and all of a sudden you're now the most powerful person in the region.
Yeah, it
know?
feels like you definitely
Like, you're just a 10-year-old who started his journey the day before, and the next day is champion of the league.
I also
Controlling
like
a country,
how
basically.
for a fan game, there's mods. I like
Yeah.
to play it modded because I like all the region Pokemon. So I'm a very stickler for the art for characters. I love all that stuff. So I mod it. I get like all the generations up to date. I do like all these different things. I like randomizers. I always love doing that on fan games. So something I like to do that makes it more fun for my experience. I like that that's an option. You know, it's not like you're forced to do it, and having that there just shows that they're ready to expand on what type of players they want playing their fan game.
Yeah. There's also like passwords for Reborn. Like,
Yeah.
you could use all these different passwords, and it's really cool.
Yeah, things for EVs, IVs. Stuff
And then my favorite thing about this is just, you're not a 10-year-old in Reborn. Like, no
No.
10-year-old is going to go through gang-ridden streets and do that, which they obviously realize. And no 10-year-olds are going to take down a criminal organization, Pokemon.
Could you imagine that?
Literally, it's just a 10-year-old, literally a 5th grader, just got his first Pokemon, is battling literally people that have been trainers for his whole life and longer. Or her whole life and longer. And is just going to walk through the entire... No, that ain't happening. I'm sorry. There's only so much you could spend to disbelief.
Yeah.
But in Reborn, you're a fully grown adult and you're still struggling through it.
Yeah.
So, makes more sense and it feels more earned.
Yeah.
Rather
I
than just
kind of
giving-
like that aspect better, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Your guy's like a 17, 18-year-old. He's not... Or she's like a 17, 18-year-old. Or not binary.
Because you could choose what characters and gender and everything in it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Opens up to a lot of people.
Yeah.
What is your game you
favorite?
recommend? Like, one you recommend?
There's so many. Like, I love Reborn. I love Rejuvenation. I thought those were really good. Which, by the way, those are all made by the same people, the same team. Reborn, Rejuvenation.
They're on the same website, but they can be. They have Mac support for all 3. So if you have a Mac,
4.
use those 3. Oh yeah, because it's Starlight Divide.
Also.
I forgot. I didn't download that one. Because I didn't really hear about it, so I didn't want to try. I wanted to.
It's
try
like one of those ones. Eventually, you'll give it a shot.
Yeah, eventually I'll give it.
But for me, see, it's hard because there's one I played that's not really, I consider like a legitimate great fan game, but I enjoy it just because to me it's very funny. It's called Pokemon Whack. You know, you hear that name in general, you just think to yourself, what is this? Like, what is this? And I have not seen every single Pokemon in it. I also haven't beat it because it's one of those games that I enjoy for a little bit. I thought I'd talk about it, but I stop at some point. And then I go back to it, but I want to start from the beginning. It's called Pokemon Whack, and it's basically you got, I think it's like more than 4,000 entries of Pokemon. So you got all the ones that up to date where they got to. So they don't have Gen 9 in it because it stopped being developed at some point. And after that it's just a bunch of fake Pokemon, and like some of them have really decent sprites. Some of them are very weird.
What?
And some of them are kind of just not good looking sprites, but they're cool. You know? And then there's like OD different types they added. Story makes no sense, but it's very fun. It's a very fun experience for me as like a person that wants to see like that randomizer aspect. Now, would I put that on my tops? No. Would I wanted to talk about it though because it's just so weird and out there to show like the extent of what fan games can actually do. You know, like to have 4,000 entries is a lot because base game we're only up to what, 1,000.
Yeah,
and even like
and
the
that's
other
over
fan
30
games,
years almost.
They only
almost
do
30
like
years.
like the fan game I have doesn't have even the newest DLC ones yet. Like the Legends, they haven't added them in. Reborn, like that one,
No.
they don't add it with the mods. But my favorite.
Doesn't have to be your favorite. Just one you would like to recommend to people to play,
No,
to
that's
pick
true.
up and play.
Okay. Insurgents. I think that's definitely a good recommendation. Pokemon Insurgents. It's a little dark of a story. They actually give you an option to turn off the dark option for the story, and it
Right.
just becomes a little more regular. Because I will say some of the things are a little cringe, in my opinion, at least. I'm sure people out there
It's a
would enjoy
Pokemon
it.
game made
Yeah.
by a lot of cringy people.
Yeah.
Reborn also has those cringy moments.
Yeah.
Like the character Terra.
Yeah.
I'll show a clip of some of the stuff she says, the safe
Yeah.
versions of what she says, and you're just like,
Yeah. It's enjoyable though in a way. I feel sometimes with the cringy stuff. Sometimes I find it enjoyable. Yeah, Insurgents has that, but it also has different variants for some Pokemon. So, um, there's like Bunny, she has a different form where she's like a psychic type. You know that it's like all different things. It's like things you wouldn't really know, but you go into the game and you're like, wow, I never expected them to add something like this. And it's pretty cool. The game's very nice. Good experience, good story, and a decent sized roster that I can say I was very satisfied with. Like I was like, okay, this is good. I can randomize this and enjoy it. I can play it straight through the regular way and enjoy it. It was nice.
yeah. So you know how Pokemon Whack had like all those Fakemon. One Pokemon game that you remember when we were trying to get it, right?
Yeah.
Pokemon Uranium when I was trying to get it.
Such a good experience.
Such a good experience, yeah.
I hear you have Pokemon Uranium.
Who's asking?
Pokemon fan.
Huh. Well, okay. I have a few on the list.
Ooh, a lot of good options.
Ha! I caught you. Both of you. Game, start the car.
Yeah, so Pokemon Uranium was canceled and got DMCA'd by Nintendo and Pokemon Company because they thought it would hit too close to home. That's at least the theory why. It had Fakemon, it had a new type, and it was developed so well that it almost seemed like it could be an actual Pokemon fan game. It like in the short development time it had 1.5 million downloads. It was very polished, complete. It didn't seem like a fan game. I feel like a Pokemon company literally reached out and released it. People would be like, okay, this is a Pokemon game.
Yeah. Which makes sense why they would attack it, but at the same time it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because you know, as a community, putting your effort into something like that, and this is not just for the developers, for the people that also play the game, want to play the game and things. Yeah. It kind of shows that in terms of the content, like I'm sure there are other reasons why. We don't know exactly what it could be. It could be a money thing. It could be like just, you know, protection of like their property.
IP,
yeah. But I think that, you know, to me, I think games run from, you know, their community. Yeah. I think that is what makes a video game really good.
Fan games,
besides what the game
fan
is.
games keep people going. They keep people interested. They keep people wanting to play more of your game because it obviously with certain franchises there's like lull periods in between games that could be like 3, 4, 5 years. Kingdom Hearts, Zelda. Like there's a lull period in between games. So when you have fan games, it keeps your fan base interested, intrigued, and excited. Yeah. Keeps them rabid. You know?
Yeah. And that also applies to like other things like mods and stuff, which is also community based. So, you know, with fan games, for example, like you see on that Poke community site, you see all those pages. It's because everyone there loves the series or wanted to just try it out, you know? And that I think says enough about how much the franchise has hit society just in a general. Like everyone loves it, you know?
Yeah. And the thing about, so back to them like DMCA and Pokemon Uranium, this is speculation, but one of the main reasons I think it did it and why I kind of get where Nintendo's coming from is there's only so much designs, colors, types that you could potentially come up with. And when people kind of start coming with Fakemon and like Pokemon Whack has bad sprites that a professional team could take that idea and actually develop like a really cool sprite and develop like lore behind the person. But when you have a really good team of developers that basically is making new monsters like hundreds or all that, it kind of shows up Nintendo a bit. So instead of adding like 20 new ones, which is what they have been doing, like 60 new ones, instead of adding like the usual 100, 200, it limits what they could do in the future.
Yeah.
It limits
that
ideas,
makes
it limits a
sense.
potential type, and I get it.
Mhm.
Because when you have a whole team, there's only a certain amount of ideas, color schemes, whatever that you can come up with.
Yeah.
Before you
From a
have to-
design standpoint,
yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of work to do all that.
Yeah.
It definitely is, especially if you're trying to base it off of
Yeah.
some type of item or design. Like,
Which is why I also
Yeah.
think a lot of those regent variants are becoming a thing more. There's a lot more of them.
yeah,
And it's because it kind of expands the new Pokemon they come up and thought of. Because if you take out regional variants, you could see in the past 3-4 gens, the amount they're adding in is slowing down each and every time.
yeah,
Like it used to be 200, 300, 400, whatever, adding at a time. Now it's like 40 if you take out the regional variants, when they only added 70 new ones.
yeah.
So
That's true. No, it's a smart idea. I think
it's a business move.
it's a very smart business move, and I think that's why it makes sense why they tackle the fan games out
Yeah.
pretty well.
Which I think is also kind of a blunder and a mishandle of the situation.
What you talking about, Willis?
Because there are some people like they support when people do that
yeah,
to their fans,
yeah,
when their fans are that rabid and interested in your series, it's a compliment
yeah.
because they
That's
love
what I
your
look at it, yeah.
they love your work so much that they are not mimicking it, because I don't want it, that kind of degrades their effort, but like they advance it. They're interested in making their own version and not selling it. It's not like they're going to
It's free.
Nintendo. It's free.
It's free real estate.
It's
They're
free.
just spreading it to other fans.
Yeah, it's almost like if you just went on a site and someone was making like fake Pokemon cards, but not of actual Pokemon, just of their own designs.
Yeah.
Like you've probably seen TikToks of people like painting on the cards and things. It's like it's almost like you're just taking an extension of that to express yourself, and I think that's why with fan games it's a very interesting thing, and the fact that Nintendo kind of just puts the ban hammer on them kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But
I feel like they
again,
slowed down with that after Pokemon Uranium, because they did get a lot of backlash for that.
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, they still
Though
Nintendo does it for a lot of other things
Yeah.
too, besides Pokemon in general. But
Yeah, because they're very protective of the IP. Like Mario, and less Zelda, because Zelda always has a little more darker tone to it.
Mhm.
But Mario, they'll drop the hammer on you. They'll bring the lawsuits if you do anything to damage their golden boy.
yeah, it's true. And again, it makes sense. I mean, think about it. You don't really get many Nintendo games outside of Nintendo consoles.
Yep.
It's very, 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 very select few circumstances, I would say.
Yep.
Or usually other titles just coming into Nintendo at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other companies, like you were saying, handle them differently, I think, right? You were saying that before?
Yes.
So
There are like one franchise that a lot of people know. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's. The creator Scott Cawthon is really like appreciative of when people make fan games, because he does see it as a compliment.
yeah.
As long as they're not trying to sell it and use the name Five Nights at Freddy's this or Five Nights at Freddy's that, they'll come up with their own spin-off title of it, and they'll like create new characters. It's like modeled off it, uses like similar designs, or they come up with new ideas. Scott looks at it and is like, you know what, this is actually good, and he gives them advice. Sometimes he'll comment, he'll play it, and which is good for a creator to have that interaction with his fans.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it gives him and his team more ideas for future games,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, you know what, maybe like I forgot, there's like a FNAF fan game that was Joy of Creation, which was one of the first ones to have like you're able to move around in like 3D instead of just sitting at a table and stuff. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 came out shortly after that, and that one you're able to move around at least a little bit, and then eventually Security Breach,
Yeah.
you're able to fully move around, you're in the environment.
Yeah, they're trying to expand on what they can do with their
it pushes
games.
the boundaries of the franchise.
And I think that's a great idea. That's honestly why I feel like Pokemon should take a hint from that. Because it's the same thing with games like Skyrim, Fallout, Stardew Valley, Minecraft, like all these games. Like I don't think they're gonna make a Minecraft 2.
Minecraft 2.
That I'm pretty sure the developers know that the
mods are what keep it going.
Mods, they sustain that game. Like it is there for a
2.
reason. Like people probably love base Minecraft still to this day, which I think is very understandable. But you know, a lot of people out there are like, I'm gonna mod it to like Oblivion. I want to do,
and it gives
like,
them
everything.
ideas. It gives them ideas, which is smart.
For
Because
updates and
yeah,
stuff.
like
all the
obviously
same
you're not going to
feature.
take their your fans' idea directly, or if you are going to something close, you might reach out to the fans, say like, "Hey, we're thinking of
Mhm.
adding this in. How do you feel about it?"
Mhm.
And unless the fans are a jerk, they're not going to be like, "Pay me." You
Yeah.
know, they'll be like, "Oh my god, my idea," and they'll leave credits too.
Yeah.
Some companies they'll leave
Yeah.
credits like, "Oh, this fan did this."
Yeah. I think it's just like, to me, it's almost like, in terms of inspiration, like developers just in general take inspiration from other things. So seeing that, you know, someone is working on something you've done, and kind of expanding on it to a certain point without just stating it's theirs, you know, like obviously, like if you create like a fan game or a mod, you know, obviously you're promoting it from something that already was there. You're not like, this is completely my thing. And
Yeah.
you know, like Fallout 4 mod, like I've seen some crazy one. Same with Skyrim. We were watching
Yeah.
one the other day. What is it?
Skyrim Ultima.
Yeah.
It's a whole mod pack of like
Yeah.
1,000 mods. Your computer would probably burn before you're able to
Yeah.
run it fully, but it looks really good. And
Yeah.
they took a game that stopped working on it, I think in like 2013-ish, 14-ish is when it stopped
Just made it
development,
brand new.
and they made it brand new. It could be a completely different game set in the
Mhm.
same world, and you would not be able to
Same
tell.
with Fallout 4. They had that one, Fallout 4 Exodus, I think it was. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think it just goes to show that those companies, they might get money out of them. They might find a way, because like when you load up games like Skyrim and Fallout, like, on console, they made sure mods were compatible.
Yeah.
It's a feature in
But
the
there's
game.
also a creation club where you have to pay for the
Yeah,
really
it's like
good ones.
Yeah, for the extra ones, you know, beyond that.
Like the ones that really change the game.
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, it makes sense why they got money off of it, but at least
they're a company, they're gonna
Yeah,
do
they're
that. So
gonna
that's
do that.
that's more
That's-
forgivable than like shutting down those mods.
Yeah.
You know?
I just think, to me, it's like at least having that option for people. Like, hey, you know, like, yeah, you have to pay money for it, but at least then you're able to connect to the community more in a way, you know? And
Yeah.
I think if Pokemon did something, not exactly like that, but, you know, take inspiration, bounce off those ideas, you know?
Yeah.
I think I'd respect it.
And another game that I play a lot of, I think I have over 3,000 hours in it, Crusader Kings 2. Mods save that game. Crusader Kings 3, which came out, which I don't really play that much because it kills my laptop. Not this one, but it killed my
Like
other
a lot
laptop.
of the RTS games.
Yeah, but if you look at those, mods make those games because it's like they have a normal game. It takes Paradox a lot to come up with DLC and advance the game, but there's people that literally make entire overhaul mods that almost reshape the game into something else.
Yeah, which is very interesting.
Like the Game of Thrones mod, that's what originally sold me to play Crusader Kings, because I'm a big fan of like history and medieval times. Is like one of my favorite eras.
Yeah.
So I liked it, but Game of Thrones is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite. So adding that into it was really cool.
Yeah.
And made me play it. So
I
think about
it's
it.
just a very nice thing for a game community to express how their fans are basically loving the series. Like that's essentially what it is, you know. You know, as long as they don't make profit off of it,
Yeah.
you know, and because that's what it is. Pokemon fan games are free.
Yeah.
Literally free, you know. So
Yep.
you're getting someone from the community. I think it's a great aspect.
Yeah, mods definitely keep games alive. Think about it. Crusader Kings 2 came out in 2008, and there's still people making mods. No, wait, it came out in 2012.
Yeah.
The first Crusader Kings came out in 2008. But Crusader Kings 2 came out in 2012, and people are still making more mods.
I'm just dying that there's a fan game that we were talking about, Pokemon Reborn, that has mods for it. And it's a fan game.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show, I don't know. I think it's just,
Yeah.
it's big community stuff. So
Yeah.
power to the community.
Yeah. So anyway, Pokemon fan games are very interesting.
Mhm.
Clearly, we talked about it for out of 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So you should definitely try playing it. Go to the Pokemon community website, look for it, or look up YouTube videos. Other
Yeah.
YouTubers on our favorite platform here, they play them. Some of them actually
them.
make a lot of Let's Plays and stuff. So support them.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite ones to watch is Hero Voltsy on YouTube. I'll see if we could put a link in the description. But he plays a lot of them, and he like also has a little shorts where he talks about one of his favorites. Which
One
actually showed me Desolation and Reborn.
The one I think I used to watch, Sacred Almighty, I think was the person I used to watch. It's
Yeah.
been a while since I've watched someone do like a fan game playthrough. But they're good recommendations, and you know, if you're into the Pokemon community already and you haven't touched the fan game or like a ROM hack or anything like that, you give it a shot, because there's a lot to it. It's just more Pokemon content. Now, if you're getting into the Pokemon community, I'd still recommend it.
Yeah. But I would start with the actual base games, at least
Yes.
the older ones.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start with Scarlet or Violet.
No, yeah.
I wouldn't
would
start with
suggest
that. I
older
wouldn't start
games.
with Sword and Shield. I'd say the latest you want to start off with is Sun and Moon. The
Yeah.
absolute latest.
Yeah. And you know, there's
Yeah.
a lot of ways to play those games. So
Yeah. There's
Fun.
ROMs you could get for the older ones.
yeah, as long as you enjoy playing Pokemon, and you're probably going to love fan games and ROM hacks. You know, just there's so many options, so there's definitely something that's right up
Yeah.
your alley.
And if you got turned away from the franchise for difficulty, well, Pokemon Reborn, Desolation and Rejuvenation, and probably Starlight Divide, if it's made by the
Yeah.
same people, are going to cover that difficulty
Yeah.
issue for you,
Yeah,
and cover
absolutely.
graphics, because they're very polished games.
Yeah, very good ones out
Yeah.
there.
There's not many bugs. I think in Reborn I only uncovered one, which was kind of caused by me putting it on alt mode, which makes you like twice as fast.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I accidentally hit command, and that's when the game glitched out, and like all the boulders like fell, they like broke.
So I mean,
So, but that was obviously my own doing.
did you want to talk about what we're going to talk about next week?
Yes.
So we actually have a plan right now. The plan is to talk about like game catalogs and like I guess you could say subscriptions for like game companies. So like, you know, game passes, things like that, because I think it's just a very fun topic to talk about. I mean, I literally got games I was just playing the other day because of that game pass. So
So we're just going to talk about that. We'll pull up little clips. We'll show clips of some of the games.
yeah, something
you know,
to talk about.
Yeah, something to talk about. Unless something major happens, that will be the topic for next
Yeah.
week.
You
So-
probably even recommend it to some of you. Out
Yeah,
there.
we'll recommend
Yeah.
it to some of you.
Yeah.
It is more expensive than the base PlayStation Plus, which
Well, that's for PlayStation. There's other ones too.
yeah, there are other game
Yeah,
catalogs.
there are
So,
many. Yeah.
Anyway, we've been your hosts. I'm Chris.
And I'm Gabe. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell.
Yep.
We always appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. Share it, please.
Yeah, we'd love
we
to.
and also comment and write in the comments if you played a Pokemon fan game.
If
or
you have a
are interested
favorite
in it.
one,
Yeah,
or, you
let
know,
us know.
Yeah, let us know if you're excited for next week's
Yeah.
topic too. If you really enjoyed this one,
Yeah.
any constructive criticism as well also helps.
Hope you enjoyed the skit too. By the way,
Yes, it's
Yep.
a very good one.
we're gonna see if we could do more from now on, because we just thought might as well. We have equipment,
Yeah,
might as well use it more.
it's a very fun experience. This has been a great learning experience for both
Catching me
of us.
end
so
up
far.
donating to this skit.
Wow. Well,
yeah. So we'll see you guys later.
yes. Thank you
Peace
so
out.
much for hanging out. Yeah, logging out.
Bye bye.